The galaxy's undefeated chess champion walked onto the stage smiling. But by the end of the night his own coach was begging him to run. "Look, I have been to exactly 473 chess tournaments across this galaxy, and I can tell you with absolute certainty that I had never, ever seen Victor look worried. Not once. Not even that time on Proxima Station when his opponent was that 8-brained octillion who could calculate 17 moves ahead simultaneously. Victor," he just laughed, cracked his knuckles, well, the Xanthari equivalent anyway, those weird triple-jointed things they call fingers, and crushed the poor creature in 42 moves.
So yeah, when the Galactic Chess Federation announced their championship finals on the neutral station of Concordia Prime, everyone, and I mean everyone, assumed Victor would walk away with the Platinum Crown. Again, for the 5th consecutive cycle. The stakes? Oh, just a casual agreement that whoever won would secure exclusive negotiating rights for their species over the Kepler corridor trade routes for the next 10 years. No big deal, only the most lucrative shipping lanes in 3 sectors, worth about 4 trillion credits annually. You know, pocket change. I was there as a junior analyst for the Galactic Sports Commission, which sounds fancy but really just meant I took notes and fetched refreshments for the important people. The arena was packed, and when I say packed I mean we had delegates from 47 different species crammed into a space designed for maybe 30. The air filtration systems were working overtime trying to accommodate everyone from methane breathers to the crystalline Vexori who required precise humidity levels. Victor strutted onto the stage like he owned it. Well, technically he kind of did. 5-time defending champion, remember? His scales, that peculiar iridescent purple that Xantharists get when they are feeling particularly smug, gleamed under the spotlight. He raised all 4 arms in that theatrical gesture of his, and the crowd went absolutely wild, cheering, clicking, whistling, whatever noise their species made when excited. Then the announcer, a rather pleasant melodian named Chorus, her voice rippling through 7 different frequencies, introduced the challenger. From Earth, representing the Terran Confederacy, Lieutenant Ria Torres. The applause was, shall we say, polite, scattered. A few humans in the crowd cheered enthusiastically, but mostly people just looked confused. Humans had only been part of the Galactic Federation for about 30 years. 30 years. That is like, what, 5 minutes in galactic political time. They were still figuring out which restroom facilities they could safely use. And now one of them was challenging Victor for the championship, for control of the Kepler corridor. I watched Ria walk onto the stage, and honestly she looked, well, ordinary. Average height for a human, dark hair pulled back in a simple tie, wearing a standard Terran military dress uniform, dark blue with minimal decorations, no theatrical gestures, no playing to the crowd. She just walked up, nodded once to Victor, and sat down at her side of the board. Victor leaned back in his chair, all 4 arms crossed in perfect symmetry, and that translator device on his collar picked up his words crystal clear. "A human. They send me a human." He laughed, that peculiar barking sound Xantharis make. "Tell me, Lieutenant, have your people even mastered 3-dimensional chess yet? Or are you still playing on those, what do you call them, flat boards?" Ria looked up at him, her face completely neutral, and said just 3 words. "Let's find out." Oh, I liked her immediately. The board materialized between them, a holographic projection of quantum-linked pieces floating in 3-dimensional space. 64 positions spread across 4 vertical planes, each piece glowing with its designated color. Victor got the traditional champion's advantage, the white pieces, which meant he moved first. And oh, did he move with confidence. His opening was textbook Xanthari aggression. The Korvax Gambit, named after some ancient war hero of theirs. He pushed his knight equivalent forward and up, immediately claiming the high ground on the 3rd plane. It was bold, flashy, and designed to put pressure on his opponent right from move 1. I glanced at the monitor displaying the statistical analysis. The computer gave Victor a 63% advantage after that single move. Impressive. Ria studied the board for maybe 15 seconds. Then moved her pawn equivalent sideways on the lowest plane, defensive, almost timid. The Xanthari delegation in the crowd made this weird chirping sound, their version of laughter. One of them, a diplomat I recognized from the Trade Council, loud enough for his translator to pick it up, said, "Is she trying to hide? This is chess, not camouflage training." More laughter.
Even some of the other species joined in. Acrylate beside me, his tentacles writhing with amusement, clicked something that his translator rendered as, "I have seen more aggressive moves from hatchlings." Vectar's second move was even more aggressive. He brought his queen equivalent, the Dominus piece, sweeping diagonally up to the fourth plane, threatening 3 of Rhea's positions simultaneously. The crowd oohed appropriately. The statistical computer bumped his advantage to 71%. Rhea responded by moving another pawn, forward this time, but still on that lowest plane. Still defensive, still, apparently, trying to build some kind of wall. "Is she stalling?" someone behind me whispered. "Maybe she is hoping he will get bored and forfeit," another voice answered, followed by that awful vexory sound that passed for giggling, like crystals scraping together. By move 7, Vectar had established what the analysts call a power pyramid, his major pieces controlling the upper planes while Rhea's forces huddled on the bottom 2 levels like frightened prey animals. His advantage had climbed to 82%. The computer was practically declaring him the winner already. Vectar was clearly enjoying himself. Each move came faster than the last, his forearms gesturing dramatically as he repositioned his pieces. At one point he actually yawned, making sure his translator caught it. "Lieutenant Torres, I appreciate that your species is new to galactic competition, but perhaps we could. How do your people say it, speed things along? I have a celebration dinner planned for this evening, and I would hate to be late." Rhea did not look up from the board. She just moved another piece into what looked like a completely defensive position, protecting a minor piece that was not even under threat. "Take your time, champion. I am not going anywhere." The match continued like this for another 37 moves. Vectar, aggressive and dominant, controlling more and more of the board. Rhea, defensive and reactive, seemingly always one step behind, always scrambling to protect her pieces from his relentless assault. By move 44 it was over. Vectar's Dominus piece and 2 of his knight equivalents had cornered Rhea's command piece, her king on the second plane with no escape routes. Checkmate. The crowd erupted. Well, at least the non-human parts of it did. Vectar stood, all 4 arms raised in victory. "Game 1 to me. Only 4 more to go, Lieutenant. Try to make the next one more interesting." Yes. The statistical analysis flashed on every screen. Final advantage, 94%. Dominant victory. Textbook execution. I watched Rhea stand up, shake Vectar's hand, well, one of them anyway, and walk calmly back to her designated rest area. Her face showed nothing. No disappointment, no frustration, no embarrassment. But here is the thing that bothered me, and I could not quite put my claw on why. As she walked past my station, I absolutely could have sworn I saw the corner of her mouth twitch upward. Just the tiniest bit. Like she was trying not to smile. The mandatory rest period between matches was 30 minutes, which gave everyone time to analyze, strategize, and apparently, in Vectar's case, gloat to every reporter within earshot. He held court in the Champions Lounge, surrounded by at least 24 journalists, their recording devices hovering around his head like electronic insects. I was not supposed to be in there, but nobody really pays attention to junior analysts carrying data tablets, so I slipped in through the side entrance. "The human tried. I will give her that," Vectar was saying, his scales now shifting to a deeper purple, the color Zentharis get when they are feeling particularly self-satisfied. "But you cannot teach instinct. You cannot download centuries of tactical evolution. My people have been playing strategic games since before Earth even had written language. This Lieutenant Torres, she moves her pieces like someone following instructions from a manual. Predictable, textbook, boring, honestly." A Melodian reporter, her voice harmonizing in 3 pitches simultaneously, asked, "Do you think she will adjust her strategy for the second match?" Vectar laughed, that barking laugh again. "Adjust to what? She has already shown me everything she knows. Defensive formations, protective clusters, the classic prey animal response to a superior predator. No, the second match will be exactly like the first. Quicker, probably, now that I understand her limitations." Across the corridor, in the Challenger's preparation room, Rhea sat alone at a small table, reviewing the holographic replay of Match 1 on a portable display. She had a cup of something steaming, Earth coffee probably, and was making small notes on a data pad. No crowd, no reporters, no celebration or commiseration. She just studied, calm, focused, almost, dare I say it, pleased with herself. That bothered me even more than the smile I thought I had seen. Back in the Champions Lounge, an older Zenthori pushed through the crowd, and the reporters immediately backed away respectfully. Thren, Vektar's coach and mentor, a legend in strategic gaming circles, with scales so dark they were almost black with age. He had trained 3 generations of Zenthori champions. Thren did not look happy. "Enough," he said quietly, but his voice cut through the chatter like a blade. "Vektar, a word." Privately, the champion waved dismissively. "Thren, relax. 1 match down, 4 to go. At this rate we will be done before dinner." "Privately," Thren repeated, and this time there was no mistaking the command in his tone. They moved to a corner, and I, very casually, very innocently, repositioned myself near a refreshment station close enough to overhear. The benefits of having excellent hearing appendages. "You are making a mistake," Thren said, keeping his voice low. "A mistake? Did you see the same match I just played? 94% final advantage. That is humiliation, not a mistake. That is precisely the problem. Look at her positioning in the endgame." Thren pulled up a holographic replay on his personal device. "Here, move 38. She moved her guardian piece to this position." "Why?" Vektar glanced at it. "Defensive panic. I was threatening her command piece." "Were you?" "Look again. Your attack was 3 moves away from being effective. She had time. She could have countered on the 3rd plane here, or reinforced her left flank here. Instead, she moved to a position that did what, exactly?" Vektar stared at the replay, his scales flickering slightly, a sign of concentration. "It protected a minor piece that was never under threat. A minor piece that contributed nothing to her defense." Thren zoomed in on the board state. 17 moves in this match made no tactical sense. None. They were not bad moves. They were irrelevant moves. And that, my arrogant student, worries me. You are overthinking this, and you are not thinking at all. Before Vektar could respond, the announcement chimed through the facility. "Match 2 beginning in 5 minutes. Competitors, please return to the arena." The second match started exactly on schedule. Aria returned to her seat with that same neutral expression, that same calm demeanor. She nodded to Vektar again. A simple acknowledgement, nothing more. Vektar, still confident despite Thren's warning, opened with a variation of the same aggressive strategy. Different specific moves, but the same philosophy: claim the high ground, establish dominance, pressure the opponent into mistakes. "And Rhea?" She responded almost identically to the first match. Defensive positions, low plane focus, building those same protective formations. The crowd was getting restless now. Some beings were actually leaving their seats, presumably to get refreshments or place bets on how quickly this match would end. By move 39, Vektar had her cornered again. Different configuration, different pieces involved, but the same result. Checkmate. 2-0. Vektar stood, but this time his victory gesture was more subdued. He looked down at Rhea, and there was something in his expression, confusion maybe, or the first seeds of doubt. "Lieutenant, I must ask, are you actually trying? Because if this is Earth's best strategic mind, I am genuinely concerned for your species' future." Rhea stood, and this time she did not hide the smile. Small, but definitely there. "Champion Vektar, we have 3 more matches to play. Perhaps you should not declare victory quite yet. I just won 2 consecutive games." "Yes," she said simply. "You did." And she walked away, leaving Vektar staring after her, his scales flickering through 3 different shades of purple in rapid succession. Thren appeared at his student's side, his voice grave. "She is playing a different game than you are." "That is ridiculous." "Is it? Then explain to me why she is smiling." The third match began after another 30-minute interval, and this time the atmosphere in the arena had shifted. Not dramatically, not obviously, but there was a tension that had not existed before. The crowd was quieter, more attentive. Even the Krellet beside me had stopped making jokes and was leaning forward, tentacles coiled tight with concentration. Vektar took his seat, and for the first time I noticed his scales were not that smug purple anymore. They had faded to a more neutral shade, almost gray. He was thinking, actually thinking. Rhea sat down across from him, And that small smile was still there. Not mocking, not arrogant, just present. Like she knew something nobody else did. The board materialized. Vectar made his opening move, but this time, he hesitated for a full 20 seconds before committing. He chose a different opening entirely, the Thessian wall, a more balanced approach that focused on controlling the middle planes rather than rushing the high ground. Smart. Adaptable. Exactly what a champion should do when facing an unknown variable. Rhea responded immediately. Barely 3 seconds of consideration and moved her piece to wait. Wait. I pulled up the previous match data on my tablet, cross-referencing the positions. Her move was different, but the strategic purpose was identical. Same defensive philosophy, same low plane focus, same pattern. Vectar saw it too. His eyes, all three of them, narrowed as he studied the board. He made his second move, a probe toward her left flank, testing her response. She responded exactly as she had in the previous 2 matches. Defensive, protective, predictable. But then, around move 12, something changed. Vectar made an aggressive push with his striker piece, a diagonal assault moving from the 3rd plane down to the 2nd, threatening 2 of Rhea's positions. It was the same type of move he had made in match 1, move 15, the same tactical pressure. And Rhea, she moved her guardian piece to the exact position she had used in match 1. The same irrelevant position Thren had questioned. Vectar froze. His primary hand, the one hovering over his next piece, stopped mid-reach. I watched his scales ripple, cycling through colors, processing, calculating. In the crowd, Thren stood up abruptly, his datapad clattering to the floor. Several heads turned toward him, but he did not notice. He was staring at the board, his ancient eyes wide with what looked like horror. "By the ancestors," he whispered, and his translator caught it, broadcast it through the arena's audio system. "She has been mapping him." Vectar heard it. Everyone heard it. The champion looked up at his coach, then back at the board, then at Rhea. She met his gaze, and her smile widened. "Just a fraction. Just enough." "No," Vectar said. That is not possible." But the replay screens around the arena were already responding to Thren's realization. Some clever technician, probably earning a bonus for this, started displaying side-by-side comparisons. Match 1, move 15. Match 3, move 12. Same attacking pattern from Vectar, same defensive response from Rhea. Match 1, move 23. Match 3, move 18. Again, identical. Match 2, move 31. Match 3, move 24. Same pattern. The crowd was murmuring now, that collective sound of beings simultaneously arriving at the same conclusion. The Melodian reporters were harmonizing in excited frequencies. The Vexori were chiming like wind instruments. Even the humans in the audience, all 12 of them, were sitting forward in their seats. Vectar's hands were shaking. Actually shaking. Those first 2 matches you were not trying to win." "No," Rhea agreed, her voice perfectly calm. "I was not. You were studying me, my patterns, my responses to your defensive positions." "Yes. But why those specific positions? Those irrelevant moves that Thren questioned?" Rhea leaned forward slightly. "They were not irrelevant, champion, they were bait. Each one designed to trigger a specific response from you. And you, being the predictable, arrogant, tactically rigid player that you are, responded exactly the same way. Every single time." The arena went dead silent. You could have heard a scale drop. Vectar looked back at the board, and I watched the color drain completely from his scales, turning them an ashen white. Because now he could see it. The trap. The beautiful, elaborate, 2-match-long trap. His aggressive positioning over the first 2 games, the one that had won him such dominant victories, had left patterns. Patterns Rhea had documented. Patterns she had provoked. And now, in match 3, she had recreated the exact board states that triggered his habitual responses. Except this time, she knew what was coming. His striker piece on the 2nd plane, overextended. His dominus piece on the 4th plane, isolated. His defensive backline, completely exposed, because he had pulled those pieces forward to press his advantage in matches 1 and 2. The same advantage he was trying to press right now. Rhea moved her command piece forward, an aggressive thrust up to the 3rd plane, and suddenly, horribly, Vector realized he had no effective counter. Every position he would normally use to defend was occupied by his own attacking pieces that were now in exactly the wrong locations. "Your move, champion," Rhea said, and that smile was not small anymore. Vector sat there, staring at the board, his four hands clenched into fists, his scales flickering between white and gray, and a sickly green color I had never seen on a Zenthari before. Move 37, his position collapsed. Move 41, checkmate. But this time it was Rhea's pieces delivering it. The score was now 2-1. And for the first time in 5 championships, Vector looked genuinely afraid. The rest period between matches 3 and 4 felt like standing inside a pressure cooker. The crowd was buzzing, absolutely buzzing, with speculation and analysis. Half the beings in the arena were pulling up statistics, replaying moves, arguing with their neighbors about what they had just witnessed. Vector did not go to the Champions Lounge this time. He sat in his chair on the stage, motionless, staring at the space where the holographic board had been. His scales had settled on that sickly green color, and his 4 hands kept clenching and unclenching rhythmically. Thren approached him, moving slowly, like you would approach a wounded animal. "Vector, listen to me very carefully. She has been running a meta-analysis on your tactical psychology. Those first 2 matches were not matches at all. They were data collection exercises." "I know that now," Vector said, his voice hollow. Do you really understand what she has done?" Thren pulled up a holographic display between them, showing a complex web of interconnected moves and responses. "Look at this. Match 1, she made 17 tactically irrelevant moves. Match 2, 19 irrelevant moves. I thought she was incompetent. I was wrong. Each of those moves was a test, a stimulus designed to measure your response." Vector stared at the web of data. "She was, what, creating a profile of me? More than that. She was mapping your decision tree. Every time you faced position A, you responded with move B. Every time she pressured your left flank, you countered with the same 3-piece configuration. Every time she retreated to defensive positions, you advanced using identical patterns." Thren zoomed in on a cluster of moves. "You are a brilliant player, Vector, but you are also a creature of habit, and she weaponized that against you." On the other side of the stage, Rhea was talking to a small group of humans, the Terran delegation. One of them, an older man with gray hair and military insignia, was grinning like he had just won the lottery. "Lieutenant Taurus, that was textbook adaptive response doctrine. Sun Tzu would be proud." Rhea shrugged. "Sun Tzu was playing against other humans, Admiral. Humans adapt, they change strategies, they recognize patterns. But most galactic species," she glanced toward Vector, "they have been playing the same way for centuries. Their tactics are refined, optimized, perfect. But perfection means predictability, and predictability means vulnerability. How many moves ahead are you calculating right now?" "All of them, sir. I know exactly how match 4 will end, and match 5, if it comes to that, which it will not." The Admiral's grin widened. "You are terrifying, Lieutenant. Absolutely terrifying." "Thank you, sir." "I try." The announcement chimed. "Match 4 beginning in 2 minutes. Competitors, please take your positions." Vector stood on shaking legs. Thren gripped his shoulder with one hand. "You need to break every pattern, every habit. Play like you have never played before. Unpredictability is your only weapon now." I will try." "Do not try. Do it. Or you will lose everything." Match 4 began, and Vector, to his credit, attempted exactly what Thren had advised. His opening move was something I had never seen him use, a fringe strategy called the peripheral gambit, which focused on controlling the outer edges of the board rather than the center or high ground. Rhea paused for the first time, actually studying the board for a full 30 seconds before responding. Was she surprised? Uncertain? No. She was smiling again. That same knowing smile. She made her move. A simple pawn advance, and the match continued. But here is what I noticed, what everyone started to notice around move 8. Every time Vector tried something new, something outside his normal patterns, Rhea responded with standard defensive doctrine. Nothing fancy, nothing elaborate, just solid textbook responses. And every time Vector reverted to his instincts, even slightly, Even for a single move, she pounced. Move 14. He retreated a piece to a position he had used in match 1. Rhea immediately shifted her dominus piece into an attacking formation that exploited the exact weakness that position created. Move 22. He advanced his left flank using a pattern similar to match 2. Rhea countered with a sequence that not only blocked his attack but turned 3 of his own pieces into liabilities. Move 30. He attempted to establish a defensive stronghold on the third plane. She dismantled it in 4 moves because, and this was the truly terrifying part, she had seen him build that exact stronghold twice before. She knew every supporting piece, every supply line, every vulnerability. The mathematical inevitability of it all was beautiful and horrible at the same time. I pulled up the statistical analysis on my tablet. After move 35, the computer gave Rhea an 89% advantage. After move 40, 96%. Vector was sweating now, actual moisture beading on his scales, something Zentharis only do under extreme stress. His hands moved frantically across the board, trying gambits, sacrificing pieces, attempting desperate combinations. Nothing worked. Every trap he set, she avoided. Every attack he launched, she countered. Every defense he erected, she bypassed. Because she had already seen it all. In matches 1 and 2, she had catalogued his entire strategic vocabulary. Every tactic, every response, every habit ingrained over decades of play. And now she was speaking his language better than he was. Move 53. Checkmate. 2-2. The arena erupted in chaos. Beings were on their feet, shouting, gesturing, arguing. The Melodian reporters were harmonizing in discordant frequencies. The statistical displays were flashing alerts. The betting pools were in absolute meltdown. Vector sat frozen in his chair, staring at the board where his command piece lay, captured. His scales had gone completely white, drained of all color. Rhea stood, walked around the board, and extended her hand. Vector looked at it like it was a venomous snake. "One more match, champion," she said quietly, "and I need you to understand something. You did not lose because you are a bad player. You lost because I am a human. And humans, we do not just play the game. We play the player." She walked away, leaving Vector sitting there, his world crumbling around him. Thren approached, his ancient face grim. "She is right, about all of it. What do I do?" Vector's voice was barely a whisper. "How do I fight someone who knows me better than I know myself?" Thren was silent for a long moment. Then he said the words, "No champion ever wants to hear from their coach. I do not know." The final rest period lasted forever, and no time at all. Vector paced in the champion's area, his forearms gesturing wildly as he argued with himself, with Thren, with the universe itself. His scales were shifting colors so rapidly it looked like a strobe light malfunction. The crowd had swelled. Word had spread throughout Concordia Prime that something historic was happening, and now the arena was packed beyond capacity. Security had to turn away hundreds of beings trying to force their way in. Every screen on the station was broadcasting the match. Betting exchanges across 3 sectors had suspended trading because the odds were fluctuating too wildly. I overheard 2 Krellic diplomats behind me, their translators picking up their conversation. 5 championships. 5. And he might lose to a species that discovered faster than light travel 30 years ago. "It is not about how long they have been spacefaring," the other responded. "It is about how they think. Humans are predators from a death world. They do not fight fair. They fight to win." The announcement chimed. But this time, the automated voice seemed to carry extra weight. "Final match, championship dur. Competitors to the stage." Vector walked to his chair like a prisoner approaching execution. His movements were stiff, mechanical. The arrogant champion from 3 hours ago had completely vanished, replaced by someone who looked genuinely broken. Rhea approached from the opposite side, and her demeanor had not changed at all. Calm, focused, confident. She sat down, nodded to Vector one final time, and waited. The board materialized. Vector made his opening move, and it was chaos. Pure, desperate chaos. He used an opening I had never seen before, something that violated every principle of sound chess strategy. He sacrificed a major piece on move 3. He left his command piece exposed on move 7. He launched attacks from random angles with no supporting formations. It was the strategy of someone who had nothing left to lose. In Rhea, she handled it like a teacher correcting a student's homework. Every desperate gambit countered. Every random attack deflected. Every sacrifice turned against him. She was not just beating him. She was dismantling his every attempt with surgical precision. By move 20, the statistical analysis had stopped even bothering to calculate probabilities. It just displayed a single message: inevitable outcome detected. The Terran admiral in the audience was explaining something to a cluster of alien diplomats, his voice carrying in the hushed arena. "You have to understand, this is how humanity won 3 major conflicts before we even met you. The Kessler Incident, the Mars Rebellion, the Lunar Standoff. We did not win because we had better weapons or more ships. We won because we studied our opponents, learned their patterns, and adapted faster than they could compensate." A Zenthari diplomat, his scales pale with realization, responded, "You are saying this is standard human doctrine." "Standard? This is basic training for our junior officers. Lieutenant Torres is simply applying it to chess instead of warfare. Same principle, know your enemy better than they know themselves." On the board, Vectar was running out of pieces, out of options, out of hope. His hands trembled as he moved his remaining striker into what he must have known was a useless position. Rhea looked up at him and her expression softened slightly. Not pity, something closer to respect. "Champion Vectar, before I make this next move, I want to tell you something." Vectar's voice was hoarse. "What?" "You lost 3 games ago." He stared at her. "What are you talking about? 3 games ago, I won, decisively." "No. 3 games ago I completed my analysis of your playing style. Everything after that was inevitable. Match 3, Match 4 and now Match 5. You were already defeated. You just did not know it yet." She moved her dominus piece into position, supported by 3 other pieces in a formation that left Vectar with 0 options. "The moment I understood you completely, the outcome was determined. That is the difference between your species and mine. You perfect your strategies over centuries. We adapt ours every single time." Vectar looked at the board, at the inescapable trap, at the mathematical certainty of his defeat. His scales had gone completely translucent, something I had read about but never witnessed. The Zenthari expression of absolute despair. He reached out with one shaking hand and tipped over his command piece. The universal gesture of resignation. "I concede." The arena exploded. Beings were shouting in 47 different languages, their translators creating a cacophony of sound that overloaded the audio systems. Humans were hugging each other, crying, jumping up and down. The Melodian reporters were harmonizing victory songs. Even some of the other species, the ones who had bet against Vectar or simply enjoyed seeing an underdog win, were celebrating. Rhea stood and walked around the board, one final time. She extended her hand to Vectar, who took it with all 4 of his, and she pulled him to his feet. "You are an excellent player, champion. Truly. But you needed to learn that perfection and adaptability are not the same thing." Vectar managed a weak smile, his scales flickering with something that might have been grudging respect. "Your species is terrifying, Lieutenant Torres." "Yes," Rhea agreed simply. "We are." The trophy ceremony happened an hour later, after the crowd had calmed down enough for the officials to actually conduct the formal proceedings. The Platinum Crown, a beautiful piece of craftsmanship from the Vexori homeworld, all crystalline structures and light refracting angles, was presented to Rhea by Chorus, the Melodian announcer, whose voice was harmonizing in what I assumed were frequencies of joy. Rhea accepted it with both hands, held it up for the crowd, and the arena erupted again. The humans in attendance were absolutely losing their minds. The rest of the galaxy was still processing what they had just witnessed. Vectar stood to the side of the stage, watching. His scales had regained some color, a muted blue now, the Zenthari shade of contemplation. Thren stood beside him, one hand on his former champion's shoulder. After the ceremony concluded, after the official photographs were taken, after the Galactic Chess Federation confirmed that the Kepler Corridor trade routes would now be negotiated by the Terran Confederacy, Vectar approached Rhea one final time. "I need to understand," he said. "Was any of it real? Those first 2 matches, those defensive positions, that apparent fear?" Rhea considered the question carefully. The positions were real. The strategy was real. The fear? She smiled. "No, That was never real. I was exactly where I wanted to be the entire time. How long did you study me before this tournament? 18 months. Every match you played that was publicly recorded. Every interview. Every analysis article. I watched you beat 47 different opponents, and I catalogued every single pattern, every habit, every tendency. She paused. You are not the first champion I have defeated this way. Vector. You are just the most famous. Humanity has been winning matches, negotiations, conflicts, and competitions across this galaxy for 30 years using the same method. We learn, we adapt, we overcome. Vector's scales shifted to a lighter blue, something closer to acceptance. Your species is going to change everything, are you not? We already are. He extended all 4 hands, and she shook each one. Then I am grateful it was you who taught me this lesson, Lieutenant Torres. Better to learn it in a chess match than in something that actually matters. Ria's expression turned serious. Champion. This did matter, because now you understand what every other species in this galaxy needs to understand about Earth and humanity. What is that? She picked up the platinum crown, the weight of it somehow symbolic of everything that had just transpired. Never ever assume you know what we are capable of, because the moment you think you have us figured out, the moment you believe your experience and tradition make you superior, the moment you underestimate us. She smiled. And it was the same smile she had worn when she walked onto that stage hours ago. That is exactly when we have already won. I watched Vector process those words, watched his scales flicker through a dozen different shades, watched him finally nod in understanding. And I realized, sitting there in that arena surrounded by beings from 47 different species, that I had just witnessed something far more important than a chess championship. I had witnessed the moment the galaxy learned not to underestimate Earth. That lesson, I suspected, was going to cost a lot of people a lot more than trade routes in the years to come.